Okay. Well, that was interesting. If you've been staring at David and I looking at each other here for a couple of seconds, it's because I was told that an error occurred. But I believe we're up and running now. Hit us up in the chat room. Let me know if you can see and hear us. We're talking Royals baseball. Yes, we're going to talk Royals baseball, even with the way things have gone. We'll talk about Salvador Perez versus Matt Quatrero in an epic Twitter fight that the world has never seen the likes of. Not really. Not really. But we are going to talk about the subject of it. And is there maybe a little something to it? We'll get into that. What does 7-15 mean? We've got some fun stats. Not really fun. Interesting stats, depressing stats. Randy was tweeting. I got some of those. Curtis Siebel cooked up some. I've got some of those. I'm sure David will add some to the mix. What's the level of concern for Cole Ragans right now? How about Noah Cameron? Are the Royals heads in the game? Wouldn't think it, by the way. You're watching him play a little bit. Jack Caglianone, would he be hitting better if he's playing first base? Maybe we'll wrap things up with some good news from the minors. A little minor league minute. You know, Randy's back in the country. He's probably watching tonight. So in honor of Randy being back in the country, we'll give you a minor league minute with some positive stuff in it. That's all coming up next here on the Kaufman Corner Podcast.
You're listening to the Kaufman Corner Podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Royals, breaking down the Royals like no one else can. Kaufman Corner is hosted by David Lesky and Soren Petro. David Lesky is an accomplished author and the publisher of the Inside the Crown Royals baseball newsletter. Soren is the award-winning afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. Kaufman Corner is proudly brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete, Kansas City's nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor, making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lot. Now, here are your hosts, David Lesky and Soren Petro.
Thank you very much, Curtis. We do appreciate it. Off and running. Remember, if you're catching us via the podcast, you can be a part of the conversation. You can be on the stream, be chatting in the chat room with other fans of the Kansas City Royals. We go live 9 p.m. on Sundays, so you can be a part of the equation. If you want, already got a number of regulars in today. Kottman's in. He's here a lot. Always enjoy Kottman's commentary and everybody, but I know Kottman is one of the regulars. Matt's in. We got a lot of the crew here, David, and they're all here because they care. They care about this team. We're going to get to the record here in a minute. Let's start with the Salvador Perez needing a mental breather. That was the comment. I'm going to read the quotes. Matt Quatrero said, just looking at the way things have gone, he's played in every game, day game after night game. Carter was going to catch today, and Salvy's been struggling a little bit. Just try to give him a little mental breather. Okay. He went on to say, we know he's not going to play 162 games, so we have to be strategic about the times where we do give him a day. Some of it's physical. He's caught a lot early in the season. Some of it's just the mental part too. He's a human, and when you struggle and you beat yourself up, you have high expectations like he does. Sometimes it's good to just relieve a little bit of the pressure. All right. Salvador Perez then tweets out, I don't need a mental, what do you say? I don't need a mental breather. Right. Then before the game today, by the way, Annie Rogers, excellent reporting from MLB.com is where I'm quoting, getting these quotes from. So credit to her. I'm good. My family's good. Everybody's good. I got reached out to by a lot of people yesterday after the game, and they sent me what Quatrero said. I don't have any problem with Quatrero. We talked today. I know people were surprised I didn't play yesterday, but everybody has an off day in the big leagues. You know, it's kind of hard to play 162 games, especially behind the home plate. Everything is fine. He didn't mean to say that. People understand that in the wrong way. That's the easy way. Social media, you guys know how it is. It's kind of crazy sometimes. He didn't mean to say that I need a mental breather. He knows me. You guys know me. I like to be in the lineup every day, and I like to play and have fun. Just wanted to give the quotes, all of them from Matt Quatrero, then all of them from Salvador Perez. So your reaction to this is what, David?
I don't think Quatrero said he needed a mental breather. I think he said I wanted to give him a mental breather. like that. I keep coming back to the original quote, and I'm going, Salvi is wrong here. like, and I say that with full knowledge that we don't know everything.
Right.
We don't know what's going on in the clubhouse. I don't know about you. We have different sources. I have not heard an issue with the clubhouse. No. I have not heard anybody say anything in 3+ years now with Matt Quatrero. There were plenty of issues before this, but I have not heard a single word about a bad clubhouse under Matt Quatrero. I'm going to go back to the quote. I want to day game after night game. Carter was going to catch today, and Salvi's been struggling a little bit. Just try to give him a little mental breather. That to me doesn't say, hey, Salvi's he needs a mental breather. No, he's trying to give him a mental breather.
Yeah.
That I see no point when he said, oh, Salvi needs one. Look, if there comes a week when I'm like, I can't do this podcast, and you're like, yeah, look, we'll have Rainey come on. It'll give you a little mental breather. That's not you saying I need a mental breather. Oh. That's you saying this will give you one. And so I think it's, from what we know, I think Salvi overreacted in a big way. But
not in a big way.
He also not in a big way, in a small way, a social media way. But it's also really, tell me if you think, I think the whole thing is weird because he says, he's like, oh, my family's here with me. But he got so many texts and calls about Matt Quatrero saying he's trying to give you a mental breather that you had to go to Twitter to tell people that you don't need one. It's weird.
Yeah, and if you read Annie's whole story, I mean, she has more details in it that they met. Matt Quatrero, JJ Picola, and Salvador Perez met this morning before the game just to talk it through and say, okay, hey, here's the deal. Here's what I was talking about. And Salvi's clearly okay with it. I think that's an important part of the equation to understand here is that Salvi is like, okay, I got it. And I'm with you. I mean, I think it is, we know that Salvador Perez wants to play every day. That's what he said in there. Expects to play every day. And, and then the tweet, I think people are like, well, are you okay? Are you handling this okay? Because if you need a mental breather. I also think, a lot of his friends, English is probably a second language. And so how well does a mental breather translate to, does it in Spanish translate and look like he needs professional psychiatric help? I don't know how the slangs work. And so I think it's always, you need to be careful when you're crossing languages there. So, I think it's a minor misunderstanding. Salvi tweeted that out. I don't really have a problem with that either. I don't think it's ideal to respond to your manager on social media. He said, well, you know how social media is. Well, your manager didn't go to media. You're
the one who did. Yeah.
So, yes, people on social media may have been talking about it, and that may have irked you because you don't like the idea of it, and you don't want it to appear as though like the losing's getting to you, or the fact that you're not hitting's getting. I get all that. Proud man does not want to show any sign of weakness whatsoever. I totally get it. And so for me, I think this is basically, in the Royals' minds, under the rug. It's not under the rug for me, and I'll tell you why. Because, in my opinion, I understand Salvador Perez is I'm not going to say barreling towards the Hall of Fame, but headed towards the Hall of Fame. And he's certainly going to have a number retired. I think 13 will be retired. I think it'll be the next number that goes up there, and he's going to be in the Royals Hall of Fame. And I think he's trending and likely to end up in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. Those are all things that are very important. He's a leader in the clubhouse for sure. But he's also an employee of the Kansas City Royals. And there is there seems to be this, like, we have to tiptoe around Salvador Perez. Not because he's an ogre, right? This isn't like somebody is, like we've seen, Jose Guillen, like, oh God, just don't set him off. We don't want to deal with his crap. But they see everything needs to be like, we got to run it by Salvi. You don't got to run anything by Salvi. Salvador Perez is a player. He plays for the Kansas City Royals. When the general manager or manager tell him this is how it's going to be, that's how it's going to be. And for me, what I would say, and this is not on Salvi, I'm going to put this is going to be the first thing I'm going to put on Matt Quatrero, where I'm not sure where we're at. And maybe even on JJ Picola. They give the orders, he marches. That's how it needs to be, but that's not how it's working. And you and I both agree, David, you beat this drum all off season. Salvador Perez to be a better player with some rest, and he is not resting at all. They have Carter Jensen, and he had played every single game, even while he's not hitting, every single game until they finally gave him that day off. And why is he playing every day? I can't believe that anybody in the analytics department is thinking they're looking at the numbers and going, you know what we should do? Try to play him 162 games. I don't think anybody is saying that. And to Salvy's credit, he said, listen, everybody needs a day off, okay? But he needs more days off than he's used to getting, and he needs more days off than he wants. And Matt Quatraro and J.J. Piccolo need to be the one to tell him that. And you and I had this discussion, and here we sit. This is exactly what we talked about in the offseason, that when you go to give him the contract, with the contract extension comes a conversation about this is how much you're going to play. We want you at your absolute best. We're going to give you the money, but you're going to play less, and you got to be on board with it. Otherwise, if you think somebody else is going to play you 150 games a year, we're going to give you a slap on the back, and we're going to send you on your way, right? Like, you know, this is exactly what we talked about, and now we're already it's not a big deal. I want to be clear. It's not a big deal, but it's frustrating to me because it's pretty clear to me that they did not have that kind of conversation. And so Salvador Perez is still kind of running the show about when and how he plays, and I think that is a problem moving forward.
Well, and he wouldn't, from what it sounds like, I don't think he would have even been off until Wednesday, if not for having this hip issue. Because I believe it was JJ on the pregame show today, who said, we talked about doing, it might not have been JJ. So if it's not, sorry. But who said, we talked about doing the whole give him a day off before an off day. So he gets 2 days off. And so we were planning on Wednesday, but then he came to us with his hip issue. And because he's apparently got a hip issue, which has prompted them to bring up Elias Diaz and all that. Elias, I don't know how he says it. Honestly, I don't care. But that's awful, but I don't. But that's what prompted that. And so he wouldn't have even been off yesterday if not for this hip issue that came up. So he was injured, which why wouldn't you say that also? And maybe, I don't know, maybe they're trying to protect the image and like, hey, he just needs a day off, get a day off, no big deal. But then you bring up a third catcher and it's like, well, what's going on here?
Yeah.
But you're right. This is not new. He needs to, and I don't especially care if he doesn't play. I'd rather he gets full days off. But the numbers that we looked at in the offseason are after DHing, after playing first base, he's better when he's not catching. And so, look, if he's going to hit you, because I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it was something like 280 and 280, 325, 490 or something like that on days after he didn't catch. That includes playing first base. That includes DHing. So if he catches less, you're probably going to get a good enough offensive player to play 150 games if that continued. So I don't care if he sits, but he can't catch as much as he has. And look, he coming into today, he started 13 games. Jensen started 7. It would have been 12 and 8 if not for the oversleeping thing, which is then you start to get a stone's throw away from 50-50. I'm okay if I'd rather Jensen. If it's those two, I'd rather Jensen's 85 and Salvy's 77 rather than the other way around. But if it's the other way around, I'm not going to sit here and light the stadium on fire, but but you're right. This is the biggest issue that I've had with Matt Quatraro in 3 and 1/8 seasons is that Salvador Perez does what Salvador Perez wants, seemingly. And that's not the way it should be. He needs to be told what he's going to do. And look, if he wants to play 157 games, then hit. That's how you get in the lineup every single day. And if you're not hitting, you're not going to play every single day. That's just simple as that. And that's how it should be.
Yeah. I think that's my only frustration here. I think everything got handled and got handled well, but they can't be, it can't, this is not about Salvador Perez. This is about the Kansas City Royals, and they have to do what's best for the Kansas City Royals. And that, that's my only rub is, okay, what are you doing? And you shouldn't have to go have a meeting with the general manager and the manager to take the guy to sit a guy down a day when he's a catcher, for God's sake.
Right.
And so, and a catcher that's not hitting, to your point. Like it
Yeah.
should be like, hey, I'm not in the lineup. Okay, I got the break.
And again, if he's hitting great, play him every single day. And if it's 2024, I don't care if he plays 162 if he's able to, because he was hitting. He needed to be in the lineup every single day in 2024. They don't make the playoffs without Salvador Perez in 2024. They just don't, because it was such a thin margin there that if he's not hitting, they probably win 2 fewer games and they miss the playoffs. So yes, put him in there as much as possible, but you got to earn it. You don't just it's not a birthright at this point.
Yeah. And so play him less behind the dish. You can DH him if you want, but he needs to get going if they're gonna be doing that.
Yes.
All right, we want to get into the start that they're off to 7-15. What does it mean? Historically, what has it meant? We'll do it after you hear from our friends at Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Concrete season is in full swing and asphalt paving is revving up. So right now is the time to get your property on the schedule with Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Whether you need new concrete work, a parking lot repaved, crack filling, seal coating, or full asphalt installation, their experienced crews handle it all right here in Kansas City. Don't wait until the rush hits. Call today for a free bid and secure your spot before the calendar fills up. Get the process started right now at GannAsphalt.com. That's GannAsphalt.com. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lots.
Green Light Dispensary, voted Kansas City's best dispensary and your go-to for quick, convenient service. With 4 locations across the Kansas City area, we're never far away. Our drive-through and express windows make it easy to get in, get out, and get on with your day. Our award-winning service is powered by a team of experts dedicated to making your experience seamless and enjoyable. It's no wonder we've been voted the best. Convenient locations, fast service, knowledgeable staff. That's the Green Light difference. Visit us today.
Italian Delight was the first restaurant to bring true New York-style pizza to Kansas City almost 50 years ago. They sell whole pies or pizza by the slice, or enjoy their classic strombolis, calzones, and sausage rolls. Sandwich lovers, check out their lineup of hot and cold subs, the combo, the meatball, or the Philly cheesesteak, just to name a few. And don't forget the pasta. Their famous lasagna and classic chicken Alfredo always hit the spot. And if you're hungry for lunch, check out their daily lunch specials, starting at under $10. Italian Delight can even cater your next work function or party. Dine in, carry out, or delivery, it's Italian Delight. Located just 3 minutes east of Kansas Speedway at 8145 State Ave in KCK. Check out the menu and order online at ItalianDelightKS.com. Kansas City's own Italian Delight. All right, let's talk about 7-15, what that means. By the way, do you know where they've been through 22 games the last few years?
Yeah, last year was 8-14. 2 years ago was 13-9. 3 years ago, I think they were 6-16, maybe
5-17.
5-17. Okay, I'm just going off the top of my head here. Yes, that's weird that I can do that. I know. But yeah, so yeah, it's
so
every year but 24 was like this.
Yeah, so 7-15 is only one game behind last year when they went 82-80. 82-80 is not the goal. Recognize that. Last year, they had scored 63 runs and given up 88. This year, they've scored 71. So as bad as the offense has been, it's been better this year than it was last year. They've given up 103. Okay. So 15 runs worse pitching, 8 runs better hitting. Right. So theoretically, they're right where they ought to be based upon, it's basically the number of runs that equal a win. Right. In 24, when they were 13-9, and would go on to be 86-76. They were a 108 runs scored, 70 runs allowed. So they were plus 38 in run differential. And then in 23, when they only won 56 games, they were 5-17 through 22. So this is they're better than that, right? The run differential in that season, they'd scored 73. They'd actually scored 2 more runs than they have this year. They'd actually scored 10 more runs than they did last year. But they'd given up 124 runs.
But to be fair, 122 were Jordan Lyles.
Yeah, well, that could be. that could be. So where are we now? It's another week later. We talked about a road trip that we were hoping they would go 3-3 on. They went 0-6. They've dropped 7 in a row. I've got a fun tweet Randy sent out. I'm gonna tell you about it here in a second. But where do you sit on what 7-15 means right now?
It's not where you want to be. I think there's a couple of things. One, I know we have all the negative stats, and I want to point a couple things out about 7-15. And I have some context here. So first of all, I looked this up. This is actually crazy to me. Since the playoffs expanded in 2022, so it's 4 seasons of 6 teams per league. For 48 playoff teams, 19 have had a 7-15 stretch in throughout the season. Not a little bit less than half. 14 of 24 AL teams have had a 7-15 stretch throughout their season and made the playoffs, which I thought was interesting. I was expecting it. Honestly, I looked it up to be like, oh, it's probably like 5 out of 24. No, it was 14.
So give me those numbers again.
14 out of 24 teams. Let me get the exact numbers. I want to get this right. 14 of 24 American League playoff teams in the last 4 years, and 5 of 24 National League. I thought it was going to be more like the National League, honestly. And the whole point was that, hey, this is going to be a really bad stat. I'm going to put this in here. It's going to be jarring to everybody, and it was kind of jarring to me the other way. Included in those 24 American League teams, 14 of 24 were the Royals in 2024. They had a 7-15 stretch. You might remember a really rough September that they almost lost the playoff spot, but they didn't. So I found that somewhat comforting. The issue where I find a lot of concern is that it's not so much that you can go like you go through a 7-15 stretch when you're 38-30 and you get to 500. You're 45-45 at the end of that stretch. There's a mental thing about it being the first. We talked about it with Jack Caglianone last year. We talked about it with, we talked about it with a lot of players. You need to get off to a good start because you look at a scoreboard, you look at the standings, you look at this stuff. So being the first 22 games is probably theoretically different than being game 91 through 113 or 112, I guess it would be. So there is a difference there. That said, good teams have bad stretches. I will say this team right now, there is no world where they look like a good team. I mean, right. You cannot call them a good team. I would also argue the flip side of that is that does any team look good in a 7-15 stretch? And 14 out of the last 24 American League playoff teams have had a 7-15 stretch where they probably look pretty terrible. I didn't look at the run differentials. So while it's not where you want to be, they look like one of the worst teams in the American League at this moment. And they are. They might be the worst. They're the worst record, tied with the Mets, I think, for the worst record in baseball. But there's at least precedent that a bad 22-game stretch doesn't change your season. A bad 22-game stretch to start the season is a different story, and that is not really ideal. I was looking back at the last few seasons, and I'm going to pull this up again. 2024 Astros are kind of the best example I can find. They were 7-16 at this point in the year. So I don't know what they were after 22. I guess they were 7-15, and they made the playoffs in 24. They won their division. They made the playoffs. Very few teams start 7-15 and can do damage. But a number of teams have gone 7-15 and made the playoffs.
Curtis pulled this number. He said in the wild card era from 95 until now, 45 teams have started exactly 7-15 in a full season. Average final record 70-92. Only 7 of the 45 finished with a winning record, and 10 of the 45 finished with 100 losses.
Yeah, it's not great.
But I do love the number of teams that have had a 7-15 stretch. Like that's what we're going to find out. Does the 7-15 is it just the gut punch that you can't get up off the canvas? Like if you bank some wins, then no problem. But we're going to find out. I think we're going to find out pretty soon too. This cannot continue. You cannot keep digging. They've got to set the shovel down. and get going. And then Randy tweeted this yesterday for the 19th time. This was going into yesterday's game. No, this was after yesterday's game.
After yesterday, yeah.
Yeah, for the 19th time in the last 22 years, the Royals have lost 6 in a row in their first 60 games of the season. That is amazing, right? A 6-game losing streak has happened in the first 60 games, which is a big chunk of the season, right? But 19 of 22 years. And in 16 of the 19 years, it happened by game 35, which means that they are just god-awful at getting started. Now, a lot of those teams were just god-awful. They probably had lots of 6-game losing streaks in the midst of the year, right? This is supposed to be a new era. The only 3 seasons it did not happen, 2014, 2015, and 2024, the 3 playoff seasons. Like, to Randy's point, the playoffs are no more based upon this statistic. Now, it's a likely stat. Like, I don't think we're blown away by that because we know how many of the years the Royals have been bad. But it is a little bit spooky that if you prove that you can lose 6 games right out of the gate, then you're not good enough to be in the playoffs. I get the direct correlation that's there, right? That you don't have to connect much more, for me to understand that. Okay, this is it is a sign that you just do not have all the pieces to make it work. That's what it has proven to be before this year. They've got a lot of baseball to try to debunk this number and be the first Royals team to break through, but that's a pretty damning stat.
Yeah, it is. And it's funny too, because they did it last year, obviously, and they finished April 16 and 15. They had a winning record at the end of the play on April 30th because they went 16 and 2 after they started 8 and 14. And a couple of things. One, I don't see that happening. Last year, yeah. I don't see that happening with this team. I also didn't see it happening with last year's team. So, I don't think you get to 6-8 games under 500 this quickly, and then and you think, oh, well, they can win 16 of 18. So you're never going to expect that, and I'm not expecting it again. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but they did overcome a brutal start and a 6-game losing streak pretty quickly. The problem came in June. Honestly, last year they were fine. They were on track to get back in the playoff race, and then they peed down their leg again in June, which is a bigger problem than this. This actually kind of feels like June right now with the way they're playing it on this road trip, at least. But yeah, look, if you prove that you can lose this many games this quickly, you're probably not very good. And you can change that. You can change that viewpoint, but you got to change it fast. And you didn't ask this, but look at the schedule. The next 9 games might be the season. The Orioles are struggling. They've lost 5 of 6. They're under 500. The Angels are playing okay, but they're not good. They're not bad. They're not good. They're just kind of whatever. And the A's are really talented, and that's a weird park to play in, but they're also not a great. They're a fine team. After that, it's Mariners, Guardians, Tigers. Those are your next 10 games. If you go into these next 9 games and don't go 6-3,
probably, yeah.
5 and 4 is probably not enough. 6-3, you're going to get those 10 games. And if you don't do something incredibly unexpected and incredibly unlikely at this point, the season's probably over.
Yeah. They need to, I'm never going to say you need, like you said, and you went exactly where I was going to go, because it is bizarre how we sit here talking about this. And it was exactly this time that they turned it around last year and winning the 16 out of 18. It started with a 6-game win streak. They won the last one at Detroit is what got them going in a
with Skubal pitching.
Yeah, that they had, but I want to be clear, to get there, they had just lost 6 in a row and 8 of 9, right? And they salvaged 1 game against Detroit, which is what we were hoping they would do today against the Yankees. They didn't. But then they got right against the Rockies. Took the first 2 against Houston. Yeah. Lost the third one. But then handled a Rays team that was just mediocre. Lost the first one to Baltimore, but then got 2 more wins against an Oriole team that ended up being mediocre. Then they got 4 with the White Sox that they swept. And so, the schedule did smile on them. it doesn't smile on him to that degree.
A bit, but not as much. Yeah.
A bit, but not as much. And so it's not going to be as quick a market correction. And that's the question is mentally, what will that do to them? Does that mean that they mentally fold? Are they just not able to, handle that kind of deal? We're going to have to find out. I mean,
yeah,
but
we'll see.
They had a, just a tailor-made schedule to try to get right and get things going back in the right direction.
And they did, to their credit.
And they did. But it's not going to be as sudden. That put them back on track, and we were immediately back thinking playoffs because
they were 24-16 at the end of that stretch. That's not. I don't off the top of my head. What is that? 24 times 4, so it's a 96 win pace. I mean, that's essentially what they were on at the end of that stretch. They're not going to be there. I mean, I'll tell you that right now. I will go out on a limb and say they're not going to go. I guess it would be 17-1 in their next 18 games. If they do, you tell me what you want me to do that's embarrassing on this podcast. I'll do it. I don't care what it is. Well, we don't want to get.
We're not going to get it. Don't worry. I'm not going to put anything in front of you like that.
We're not going to get fines, but tell me what you want me to do. I'll do it. If they go 17-1, I don't care. I feel pretty confident it's not going to happen, but yeah, they need to I don't know. When do they have to be back to 500 in your opinion? If they want to make a run mid-May, they've got to get back there.
They just have to, I think the more concerning thing is some of the stuff we're going to talk about in a minute is they got to play better baseball. I mean, I don't want to put they're going to be tested this year. They've already dug a hole and they're going to be tested. Their resolves are going to be tested like they have not been tested since 2014, because in 14 it was not great in the first half of the year, and they even were
they were 48 and 50 at one point.
Yeah, I thought they were clear down to 5 below 500 after the All-Star break. Or no, I know what it was. I think they came out and lost 5 in a row, or 4 or 5 after the All-Star break, and so it went all the way through the All-Star break that team was not the way it was. People were calling for everyone to be fired before it got going in the right direction, and so it's going to be more like that. 8 under, and it's just harder now. I mean, the White Sox are the one team you're supposed to be able to beat up on. Right now, I mean, we don't think the Blue Jays and Red Sox are teams that you're just supposed to beat up on. They're 8-13. The Astros are 8-15. They're not supposed to be that bad. So the teams that are supposed to be kind of bad aren't. Right? The Twins have come back to earth. At least they're down to 500 now. Right. So maybe it will, but I just think that the baseball, everyone's playing by the numbers. It's just harder to get on a roll. But the good news is no one's running away and hiding.
Well, yeah, there are 4 teams. There are 4 American League teams over 500.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to look for a reason that the Royals can get back into it, it's that whatever you thought about this team 4 weeks ago, was it 4 weeks? Yeah, 4 weeks ago. If you believe that's the team and they're going through a rough stretch, if you don't, I can't blame you for not believing that. if you believe they just suck, I can't blame you because they have just sucked. It's factual. But if you believe that they have a chance to get back on track, there are only 4 teams over 500. I mean, it's not like, it's not like when the Rays were, 19-3 through 22 games. The best record in the American League, what is it? 13-9? Is that right? It's the Guardians the Yankees are 13-9. The Guardians are 13-10. I don't buy the Guardians. I still don't buy them.
Yeah.
I buy the Yankees. I don't fully buy the Rays. I buy the Tigers. This is it's a mediocre American League, which, look, if you want to look at it that way, it makes it worse for the Royals. But it also gives them more of an opportunity to be able to get back into it if they can pull their heads out of their asses, basically.
Yes. The good news is they're 4 back in the wild card.
Yeah.
4. The last wild card is 500. Mm-hmm. It's the Twins who hold the wild card position right now. So,
and the Royals have the tiebreaker over them as of right now.
Yeah. So that's the good news, is that it's not as bad as everybody thinks, but they have to start playing better baseball. We'll talk more about that after you hear from our friends at Northland Injury Law. Northland Injury Law, Kansas City's Google 5-star rated personal injury lawyers, serving KC for more than 40 years, voted Kansas City's #1 accident lawyers, helping people with serious injuries from car accidents, work accidents, falls, and other personal injuries. Northland Injury Law doesn't get paid unless they get money for their client. Don't wait, get compensated now. If you have a case, text HURT to 22222. That's HURT to 22222, or call 816-400-HURT. That's 816-400-4878. The choice of a lawyer is an important one and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Gann Asphalt and Concrete is looking to grow their team. If you have heavy construction foreman experience with heavy equipment, asphalt or concrete labor, or just want to learn a new trade, contact Gann Asphalt and Concrete to join their team today. Top of the market pay, company provided insurance, and paid time off and holiday pay are just a few of the great reasons to join Gann's expanding team. Learn more about this great opportunity with Gann at GannAsphalt.com/careers. That's GannAsphalt.com/careers. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lots. All right, speaking of playing better baseball, it can start by getting some better pitching. Cole Ragans is walking everybody. Your level of concern with Cole Ragans is?
8.
Okay.
9. I don't know.
10, just to be clear. I assume you're talking.
I was saying out of 6. No, no, it's high. I mean, when you walk, it wasn't just this start. Like if it was just this start, you go, okay, the Yankees are a tough offense, tough day to pitch. It's an aberration. You could at least chalk it up to that. But he walked 4 in Detroit, and he only struck out 1 in that outing. Now, he only gave up, was it 1 hit, right? I think. Didn't give up a run, so he figured out how to pitch around it. But the Tigers' offense isn't special. He walked 8 in 4 2/3 innings. He walked 4 in the first inning. I thought for a minute, I went, okay, he found it. He figured, because there were a couple, the second bad too? No, he was second and third. He was okay. He struck out Judge. He looked better for a minute. And then the fifth inning fell apart again for him. And it fell apart after that ugly dropped pop-up. I'm concerned. And I'm concerned because one of two things is happening. So he had a 37% zone rate today. So 37% of his pitches were in the strike zone. That means one of two things. Either he can't throw strikes or he's afraid to throw strikes. And look, Yankee Stadium gets in people's heads. It does. It shouldn't. And that's a problem that it does, but it does.
It shouldn't for a left-hander.
It theoretically, no. It's funny. I'm not,
or at least not as much.
The home runs didn't concern me today because the Grisham one was a bad pitch. Aaron Judge takes a lot of those curveballs. I think it was a calculated risk. It was a get me over curve after walking a guy, and Aaron Judge triggered. He'd only swung at one curveball on first pitches this year before that. So, okay, it was a hanger, but I kind of get why. I don't like it, but I get why. The Ben Rice home run, I don't know how he hit that ball out. That's incredible. 95 that's a Bobby Witt home run. Not that he hits those anymore, but if he did, that's what they used to be. The Grisham one was a bad pitch. So 2 of the 3 home runs, I at least understand the rationale, but the inability to throw strikes, like I said, either Yankee Stadium or the Yankees lineup is in his head, which is a problem, or he can't throw strikes, which is a problem. I don't know which is a bigger problem. Honestly, they're both huge. If he's afraid to throw strikes to any lineup, that's an issue because he's got one of the best in-zone whiff rates in baseball, or at least he did last season and in 2024. So that's really concerning to me. He didn't get any chase, which that's probably, I would say, more to the Yankees' credit than to Ragans' detriment, to be fair. But still, he didn't get any chase. 18% chase rate is really low for him. And he just didn't get swings and misses. He only got 5 swings total on 23 sliders. They missed 2 of them, so the whiff rate is good at 40%, but he's not getting enough swings. And so I'm very concerned because he seems to be either unable or afraid to throw strikes. And Cole Ragans succeeds because he can get people to swing and miss in the strike zone. And if he's not throwing strikes, that's a problem.
I am concerned for this reason. Number one, we have made Cole Ragans an ace in this city. off of what 44 starts, really?
Yeah.
Let's go back, because when they acquired him,
It was 12 more, so 56, I
56
guess.
starts.
Yeah.
Last year at the end he came in, but we had no, I'm counting twice. I'm right. 44. I was counting the 12 twice, the total and. So 44 starts in 23 and 24. And we made him an ace. I mean, that's what he has. He has 44 starts, where he's been like, before that, this was part of the problem, right? And he had not established himself as a starter. And listen, I'll ask the question: did they make a mistake in not moving Cole Ragans in the offseason? I mean, the answer is going to be yes if he doesn't come around. But that's that would be using hindsight. Like, oh yeah, you should have known the guy was going to blow up. But should they have were there more reasons? Because what's concerning to me is this is 2 starts in a row, right? I know it. He got the win in the last one, and overall the base runners, he didn't have a ton of base runners, but he wasn't great in that one. 6 innings, 1 hit, that's wonderful, but 4 walks, 1 strikeout.
Yeah, it's rough.
I mean, so that was kind of like it. To be honest with you, based upon what he did in this start, where he again can't find the plate, it looks like he was just lucky in the last one. And it looks like the Yankees said, oh, well, wait a minute. Let's make him prove it. Let's make him throw strikes. We know they're a team that takes pitches. But, yeah, that's what's scary to me is this is 2 in a row.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, even any one game you can think, okay, that could be an aberration. Let's see. Okay. The Detroit one wasn't an aberration. It got worse. And that's very concerning to me. And what I don't know the answer to, and maybe we can find this out. I'm looking at his velocity by inning. First inning, 94.7. A little low, but whatever. It's fine. He's around 95. I'm good with that.
It was cold today.
It was cold. There was a delay. I'm good with 94. I'm good with being, a tick down. 94 in the second, 93.5, 92.6, 93.2. So is he unable to hold velocity? And I don't know this answer. Or he's done this in the past. If he can't throw strikes, he pulls back a little bit, which usually works for him because his fastball, good shape. He doesn't need to throw as hard as he does to get whiffs generally. Is that what's going on? Or is he wearing down really quickly in starts? We didn't see it last year when he came back, but he was also on a pretty limited pitch count. I think as far as he went, 5 innings in those 3 starts, I think last year, 4 and a third, whatever. I don't know. I don't know why the velocity is so far down as the game goes on, because it also does make sense that he's having trouble locating. So he'd want to back off a little bit. So I don't know that answer. I wonder what would have happened in that Cleveland start, because he was blazing before he got hit in the hand. So at this point, the Royals have really no choice but to say, let's figure this out. And look, I trust Brian Sweeney. I think that they can figure it out. And Cole Ragans clearly has the talent. I mean, we say, well, they anointed him after 44 starts. They were 44 really good starts.
Yeah, they were. That's where, this comment here, they made Ragans an ace off 2 months of good pitching. He pitched longer than 2 months. I mean, I grant you, there's a point to it. You don't need to overstate it, Kurt. Like, he does not have 5 years of finishing the top 5 of the Cy Young, right? So that's why I brought it up. Like, it is a limited sample size that they had. It's the finish to 23, but it's all of 24, right? It was all of 24. He damn near set the Royal strikeout record, but there is validity in the fact that this is not a guy who's just done it year after year after year, right? This isn't Greg Maddux at age 32 right now,
Sure.
So, yeah, I think they should be concerned, and I hope they've got some ideas on how they're going to get it fixed. What about Noah Cameron?
I was worried about regression with him because, I mean, look, I thought we'd see him regress back to what the underlying stats said he would be, which is a number 5 starter, a borderline, a 4 or 5 starter, I should say. He had the 2.99 ERA last year, but what was his FIP was like 3.99, right? Am I off on that? I'm gonna look that.
On
I should have
Cameron's FIP.
Yeah,
I'll have to bring him up. I've got him up on I don't have them up.
It was 418. The expected area was 408. So I thought, okay, yeah, if he's a 4.42, 3.8, somewhere in that range, it's regression, but it's expected. What I was worried about is the lack of whiffs on the fastball. If the other pitches don't keep up, well, that's going to be a problem. Especially, there were times he generally has good control, right? But there were times when he'd nibble. And the problem that we're seeing, the cutter is getting more swings and misses. The changeup is way down, 41.7% whiff rate to 29% this year. The curve was almost 30%. It's 17.6%. The slider was 31%. It is 16.7%. He's not getting swing and miss. And the thing about Cameron was, we said, oh, he doesn't get whiffs on his fastball, but he gets whiffs on everything else. And so you can make it work, especially if you back off the fastball a little bit, throw it a little bit less. Well, he's no longer getting those whiffs. And it's a little bit like Cole Ragans, that he's dancing around the zone and not getting chased. But the difference is, when Cole Ragans gets in the zone, he's fine. When Noah Cameron gets in the zone, he's a mess because he gets crushed because the stuff just isn't good enough right now. And so I'm concerned. I'll be honest. If it was me, he'd be in Omaha for his next start. I would make a rash
already
decision. Yes, because there are some very clear. First of all, the Royals, they can't afford another bad start. They just can't. It's not like, if they were sitting here, if they were 13-9 like they were in 2024, like, yeah, work it out with them. Now, work it out in Omaha. Stephen Kolek is good to go. He can come up, and his day is Noah Cameron's next start. Kolek pitched today. The off day on Thursday means Cameron's next start is Friday. Kolek can go. I would get Cameron down there and fix whatever's wrong right now and get him back to what he was last year, because you've got a guy who you can do it with. And so I think that they don't have time to wait on this, because right now the offense is so bad that the only way you stay in games and win games is starting pitching, and Cameron's not helping that right now.
Kolek hasn't gone more than 4 1/3 yet. So
yeah, but Cameron's got, what is he, 5 1/3? I mean, it's not like you're getting a lot from him.
I will give Cameron the credit that, because we've seen, and I give it to all the Royals pitchers, and I'm bringing up, let's see, what did he go last time? He only got through 4. The time before that, I think he went 5 1/3.
5 2/3, 5 1/3, and 4. Yeah. I'm not saying that he necessarily deserves the demotion, but I think.
But you're sure as hell trying to demote him.
You got to get him right.
Yeah, I'm with you.
You got to get him right.
I hear what you're saying. You do have to get him right.
You know what? He deserves it. He deserves to go to A-ball.
I think it's tough. A guy who finished top 5, winning top 5 rookie of the year. He finished 4th or 5th.
4th, yeah.
I think it's tough to send that guy down off just 2 starts. Really,
I agree.
I think he's going to get a little more time. I think Kolek needs a little more time to build up, and I don't think you want to bring him up and then have him pull the oblique, and then you're bringing up you've bashed Noah Cameron's confidence, and you're turning back to him. I'm open to the idea that he's going to need to go down, but I do like, we all remember the days when a bad start for the Royals was 2/3 and 7 earned, right? Like, I do want to point out that Noah Cameron at least still battles and eats up some innings on his bad days, and so I think that's of note. But I think his next start's an important one. I think that's
and maybe it is one more or whatever, but my argument is not so much that Noah Cameron needs to go down because he stinks. It's that the Royals can't afford to have another bat. They don't have the luxury of letting guys work through things right now. So that's my concern.
So is Cole Ragans about to go down too? He's got a worse ERA.
Look, can you stop using my words against me? It is ugly. It is an ugly I know you're being facetious. There's clearly a difference between those two.
There is.
But I mean, look, if it gets to a point that Cole Ragans is unusable, then Cole Ragans is unusable. No, if Salvy's not a sacred cow, nobody's a sacred cow.
Yeah. Well, nobody should be a sacred cow. I agree with you on that. I'm 100% in agreement on that. Listen, do they not have their heads in the game? Like, did the World Baseball Classic, it didn't do anything to Michael Garcia, although he was involved in one of the problems today. But, we had Caglianone and Isbell coming together and a ball drops on Saturday. We had Garcia and Collins coming out and both of them peeling off. Now, I'm not sure why Michael was yelling, I got it. And I'm not sure why Collins wasn't yelling louder and yelling him off. Like, to me, I don't want to see the guys run into each other, but that should have been a collision because Collins should have kept coming. I mean, you have right away. You're the outfielder. You have to call him off. Yeah. But I he's new to the team. Michael Garcia is a Gold Glove winner. He just got a big contract. And so, okay, maybe that all played into his thoughts, but he's got to take that ball. And so they had a couple of just slapstick mistakes. And then, I mean, this goes to the third base coach. Like, why was Diaz sent home? I mean, he was clearly pacing himself around the bases. Or he just has
I'm a little bit concerned that he wasn't actually.
I mean, well, either way, but I'm like, who thought he was going to make it? I'm like, they're not. What?
It did, and that bothers me because
in Matt Quattro's defense, he said, well, we're trying to get on the scoreboard there. We're trying to, get something going. Wrong. I mean, I do get it if you're on third base, like, well, we can't hit. We're not going to drive him in, so I might as well send him and hope.
Maybe he'll pull the throw into the dugout or something. Yeah, but that bothered me because it wasn't even like you get thrown out on the bases. People always assume it was a mistake. Sometimes the defense just makes a play. This was not that time. Right. That ball could have been 12 feet up the line, and it was awesome. Well, I think Wells was catching today. Wells could have gotten back and tagged Diaz before he got there. Like, it did not need to be a good throw at all. So, yeah, that was crazy to me. This is something that really concerns me. And up until, was it Saturday? Yeah, the second game. The Royals, they were on a 5-game losing streak with a -6 run differential. That is a team going through a combination of bad play and probably some bad luck. I mean, you don't lose 5 games by 6 total runs and it's only bad play. You just don't. It's just that's the reality. I get the feeling, and I've seen it in the chat. I think people agree. I think the Yankees are in their heads, and that's a terrible place to be. And I think Yankee Stadium is in their heads 100%. And when they lost that game on Friday, especially when they lost it the way they did, 4-2, the same 4 runs, and the broadcast noted it 68 times, the same 4 runs they gave up in every game last year in Yankee Stadium. When they lost that game, it was, we can't win here. We're done. And they looked like a totally different team. I mean, you want to say, oh, they're lifeless, whatever. They were playing competitive baseball games. They were in them until the end. They lost most of them in the late innings. This is a bullpen issue and a hitting issue to score 1 run or 2 runs or whatever. No, I'm not taking that away. They were playing competitive baseball games. The last 2 days were, I don't even want to say 2023 Royals, 2006 Royals games. That was the worst I've seen from the Royals in 20 years, the last 2 games. And I think that my opinion, and this is me totally putting thoughts in people's heads, is that the Yankees and Yankee Stadium is in their head, and that's a huge problem.
Yeah, that is a big problem. They have to play crisp baseball. I mean, they're not going to outslug everybody or just put their 3 Cy Young candidate starters up there. I mean, they have to play good defense behind. They cannot be giving up outs. They did that way too much. I agree with what I put up there on the comment about they get too many guys thrown on the bases. This cannot start being what they are. They have to be an efficient team that does not give away outs right on the bases, and they cannot give extra outs within the field. And so that was disturbing. And I hope you're right. I hope it's just Yankee Stadium is a thing for them.
But that can carry over, and that's what concerns me.
Yeah. Would Jack Caglianone hit better if he's playing first base? I mean, I never liked the idea of him playing the outfield. I acknowledge that he's far better than I thought he ever would be. But, I will also mention that I said at the time, he was drafted to hit the ball. And that's fine if he runs around in the outfield. But if he doesn't hit, then this is ridiculous. And so what do you think that playing outfield has something to do with why he's not hitting?
I mean, he is kind of hitting 270, 343. There's that at least. And he's hitting the ball hard. This is not what you want from Jack Caglianone. but a 57% hard hit rate, a 17% barrel rate. I mean, he's hitting the ball hard. He's not pulling the ball as much as he should be, but he is smoking the ball. I will give him that credit. He's also his chase rate is down from 38.5% last year to 31%. So I mean, the answer is we seriously have no idea if he would, because he's not playing first base. I think it would probably be about the same. I think the bigger question is, if he had come up as a first baseman last year, would he have just hit the ground running? I don't think so, because there were some pretty glaring issues offensively. And I think what he's doing right now, it seems to me that he is making a conscious effort to let the ball get further. And when you do that, you don't pull the ball, because you hit it up the middle, you hit it to left field, and he is hitting it very hard. It goes back. We talked about this last week, I think, maybe 2 weeks ago. The reason I think Michael Garcia can hit 20 home runs, 25 home runs, even though he's never done it and he's not this big, powerful guy, is because he understands the pitch that he can load up on. And I think Caglianone needs to figure that out and look, you can hit the ball 117 miles per hour to left center field and get a double to the gap, but you also need to pull the ball 420 feet, 378 feet. You need to be able to know the pitch that you can launch on. And I think everything he's doing right now is, I'm going to let the ball get deep. And he's so strong that he still hits it hard, and he still is somewhat successful, but his job is to hit home runs, not to hit singles. Yeah. I'd rather him hit singles and strike out and make outs, but
do you think it's coming? Do you think he's close? Do you think he's going to take the frequency of contact, the barrel, everything you're doing? And now the next step is the home runs are going to follow.
Generally that's what happens. It's hard to predict anything successful with this team right now. That's actually what is going to happen next, because they're not doing anything successful. So I hope so, because that's generally the progression, but we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Let's finish with some good news, right? That's what we all want. We want some good freaking news. Haven't we had enough of the bad news? Just let's give us some good news. Let's minor league minute. Rainey always liked to call it the minor league minute. When he came up with this, was to just
let's do 2 minutes.
Well, we came up with it.
We'll double it, because it's the new age of Kaufman Corner.
Yeah, minor league minutes, plural, because they are. We came up with it because they were so bad that, like, okay, we're gonna have something else to talk about, right? And so let's talk about the minors. So in honor of that, it's been pretty rough. Let's take a look at what's happened with the two prized pitching prospects of late. David Shields got off to a slow start, but last time out, yesterday, 5 innings, no hits, no runs, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. That to go with Kendry Churio, who a few days ago went 5 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 5 Ks, which was on the back of 4 2/3 of no hit, no run, no walk, 6 strikeouts. So Churio's last 2 times out, 9 2/3, 3 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 11 Ks. That is a positive sign for the future. And both those guys, high A is where Shields is at. Low A is where Churio's at. Where do you think they're going to finish this year?
I would bet Shields is going to get to Double A if he keeps pitching well. I think the Royals are too conservative with promotion sometimes. So I think in other organizations, you might see him get to Triple A. I think it's Double A, and I think Churio probably gets to High A at some point, because he finished in Low A, starting there again. Like, he's got 2 walks in 12 2/3 innings, which is a spike from last year when he had 1 walk in 17 2/3 in the Dominican, and then no walks in 11 in the Arizona, and then 4 in 22 2/3. I guess a little bit down from where he was last year. He's 1.4 per 9 versus 1.6 last year. So he's actually improved that even a little bit. But I would guess you see Churio end at High A, with a small chance that he gets like 3 Double A starts. And I think Shields ends at Double A. I want to see them be aggressive, though. I really do.
Yeah, I wonder if Churio is so young, but like, arms only have so many bullets.
Right. You only have so much. You're right.
So I would love to see Churio finish in Double-A. And I'd love to see if Shields is half in High A and half in Double-A. I'm happy with that because then he starts in Double-A with it being with a quick, if he's mowing people down in Double-A, then he's quick to Triple-A. And then we know AAA is a way station a lot of times. I mean, it's just like, when do we have an opening? And
You're looking at June, July, August, somewhere in there in 27.
Yeah, I don't want, I'm not saying right now that Shields will be in a Royals uniform in 27, but if he would progress that way, then you could see him in a Royals uniform in 27.
Yeah.
I think we're 28 for Churio. We'll probably follow along behind.
I would like to see them. Churio is so advanced with his pitchability that I would like to see them get those two together on the same development path. And look, it's not necessarily that they're going to get called up on the same day or whatever, but if you can get, I wouldn't spend too much time with Churio in Low A, I guess is my point. I would get him to High A sooner than later, see where he is, because I think that he has the ability to locate, and he has such good stuff on top of being able to locate that if I don't think he's going to get tested at Low A, and probably honestly not at High A. I mean, I think about like Chris Bubich, and I wonder what his career would look like without COVID, because he wouldn't have been in the big leagues in 2020, at least not to start the season. But if you look at what he did in the minors in 2019 in High A, which was Wilmington, so
pitchers
pretty amazing for pitchers, yeah. 101 and 2/3 innings, 110 strikeouts, 27 walks. Bubich he's gotten strikeouts at the big league level. That's not been him at the big league level. Again, he got his next stop was the big leagues after High A Wilmington because of the COVID season, and he held his own. You look at the number; he wasn't bad. He was not bad until 2022, actually, at the big league level. 2020 and 2021, he was fine. But he didn't have much to do at High A either. So I would like to see Churio kind of get churning up the system, because I don't think there's any, I think he's going to dominate those levels because of how good the stuff is and how well he locates. And so I think there's not much of a point for it.
Yeah, I think, if they keep pitching like they have these last couple of times, they're going to move pretty quick.
I hope.
But yeah, what absolute best case? Well, we've seen guys start a year in A and finish the year in the bigs.
Yeah. I mean, Trey Savage last year was pitching the World Series.
Yeah.
Now a little different because he was a draft pick the year before, but I mean, I don't want to say definitely not. The Royals' history indicates they probably won't get Shields to the big leagues this year, but I think best case they're both in the majors next year. I would tend not to predict that, but
not starting in the majors, but
no, at some point.
Yeah. Well, it's great to see them going well, because Shields had a couple of tough starts to get things going, but they also were delayed with all kinds of.
They've had such a weird schedule.
So hopefully now he gets into every fifth day and we start seeing more numbers like this, and hopefully we see the Royals get things turned around. Listen, you can support the Kaufman Corner podcast by supporting our great sponsors. Gann Asphalt and Concrete's been with us for years. They've been in Kansas City for years, more than 30 years, solving parking lot problems. One contractor, all things parking lot. Schedule starts filling up real fast this time of year. So if you need any kind of concrete, asphalt work, seal coating, striping, concrete bumper, signage, you name it. Like I said, one contractor, all things parking lot. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com. Our friends at Greenlight Dispensary, 15 locations in Missouri. More on the way. Greenlight, your go-to for all your cannabis needs. Tell them you saw it right here on the Kaufman Corner podcast. Our friends at Northland Injury Law, they've been serving Kansas City for more than 40 years. Voted KC's #1 accident lawyers. If you've been hurt in an accident or at work, if you have a case, text HURT to 22222 or call 816-400-HURT. Northland Injury Law, Kansas City's Google 5-star rated injury lawyers. And of course, our friend Renee and his great staff over at Italian Delight. Strombolis, calzones, sausage rolls, hot and cold subs. They got wonderful salads if you're a low carb guy, one of their great Italian salads. Get one of those. Have them throw on some extra meat and cheese. They'll help you out. They are absolutely great. First restaurant in Kansas City to bring true New York style pizza here to town. Almost 50 years ago, with daily lunch special starting at under $10. Go see them. 8145 State Ave. Find them online at ItalianDelightKS.com. Tell Renee that you heard it right here on the Kaufman Corner podcast. Renee and his sister, they're absolutely great people, great folks, and great friends of the Kaufman Corner podcast. For David Lesky, I'm Soren Petro saying thank you very much for joining us here on the Kaufman Corner podcast.